Welcome to Let's Blame the Planets, a monthly astrology podcast where we use what's happening in the sky as a starting point for conversation, reflection, and storytelling. This isn't about predictions or having all the answers. It's about exploring astrology as it shows up in real life and helping you understand astrology for what it really is. My name is Sandra Jungen. I'm a natal astrologer, and together with my co-host Ray Cho, our honorary astrologer, we'll dive deep each month into a topic that feels relevant for the world, or sometimes just for us. We both have a strong Sagittarius streak, so expect curiosity, big questions, and the occasional philosophical detour.
Go.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We're officially in Leo season, and you know, it's 2026, so Leo season isn't your normal Leo season. So just quickly, Leo is the sign of the heart, confidence, creativity, self-expression, joy. The sign that says, you know, create, play, be expressive. It's ruled by the sun. So literally the center of our universe, or our solar system rather. So this is the part of the zodiac that's all about shining, about identity, about life force in each of us. And every year the sun moves through Leo for a month, and we all get a personal dose of that energy, regardless of your own sign, but it depends on where Leo is in your chart, depending on what area of life that expression will come out at. So, but this Leo season is a little different. There's two big things happening in the sign at exactly the same time. So Jupiter, the planet of expansion, has just moved into Leo last month, and it's staying there for a whole year. And on top of that, the South Node is also moving into Leo this month. And we'll talk all about what that means in this podcast. And halfway through Leo season, we get a total solar eclipse. Yay, eclipse season. All in Leo. So today we're going to get into all of it. What this double Jupiter South Node activation means in Leo, the big full moon in Aquarius, and the nodes shifting for the first time in 18 months, and everything building towards the eclipse in August. So let's get into it.
Yes, yeah. And how do you feel about this Leo season?
I think it's a really interesting one personally.
Yeah.
Like, there is this kind of double like whammy of the outward expression, but at the same time, it's I think a lot more reflective than most Leo seasons, and especially coming off the back of Cancer season this year with Mercury retrograde having, you know, finishing up as just after the sun moves into Leo. There's a lot more, for me, self-reflection. And obviously we've still got this outer planet alignment, which is then interacting with the inner planets throughout Leo season that I think will actually, in some ways, you know, Garbo's basket has been so talked about in July, but I actually wonder in some ways whether it's going to land more personally in August with Venus and Mars really activating some of those points as well.
Yes, yeah, because I think even Jupiter, because like when you're looking at all the personal planet, and Jupiter is actually quite far away. Jupiter and Saturn is like compared to all the Mercury and Venus and Mars, they're more slow movement, right? But like Venus and Mars and Mercury, these are those really, really personal planet, and then moving faster, and then therefore will feel much more in this month, pretty much, the Leo season. And also another thing I want to talking about as well, because this Leo season, like normally like Leo is like leadership, like shine, you know, like the creativity and being the center of the stage, right? But because this Leo season start with square with Chiron, which is like, I always feel like when the starting of a season and the energetic signature in the sky will telling a bit of the theme of it, right? So for example, with Chiron, I feel like it's more a healing theme already, healing the heart and healing the inner child, even healing the wound of maybe not able to being seen or shine brightly, like regardless, you know? So I feel like that's kind of like a major theme. And as you said, because there were so many things going on here, like the eclipse and, you know, the really big massive full moon, we're talking about that as well. And and also a lot activation about, you know, the like the basket we're talking about in July, and then there's also the nodes shift pretty much at the same time. So it's kind of like the energy is like everywhere, but you don't know where to pinpoint. But this seems like pointing to one thing, but no one can able to fathom just yet. You know what I mean? So I think I got a sense. I cannot summarize in a way. I just feel like there's so many things happening. I was literally sitting with a chart yesterday. I was like, oh my god, I don't know where to go, and it just like a deep, like something bigger in the background is happening, but it's out of our comprehension in a way.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we both said, like, when we were prepping for this podcast, I think we're just going to move through it and see what comes up, and we're not quite sure how we're going to summarize it at the end, but I think we will be able to once we move through the podcast a little bit more. But I think the transition from Cancer season, like I already said, is really interesting. You know, I don't know about you, but I really felt this Cancer season was so inward for me. And I talked to a lot of people that felt that way. I mean, obviously we had a Mercury retrograde in Cancer, which is finishing in a couple of days at the 23rd of July. We are recording this on the, what is the date? 22nd, so it's ending tomorrow.
Pretty much.
So yeah, I just felt so almost forced to stay home at points. Just I had a week where I had nothing on, which is very unusual for me because I usually have too much on, and I just you know, I was like, I don't have anything to do. This is so bizarre.
Yes,
and
I see that.
I know, and I just it was really interesting. It was a very like I said, inward reflection time. I think obviously we're recording this in New Zealand, so we're in winter. It was really cold, you know. It was very much a stay at home, and how did you find it?
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. And I feel like, especially for example, like with for example, social media, like all the things we're doing, I do feel like I was drawn, and it's like I want to go deeper and studying and learning things. And also because now I'm studying like, you know, the West, the Chinese metaphysics and like astrology, that thing, and really get me into a deeper reflection, because also it's kind of like you learning yourself again in different lens. You know, it's in that way of as I was studying, and also a lot of reflection about my life and stages and where I am right now and who I really want to become. It's like more inwards, kind of like reflection. But also there's like I will share later on in the journey of the Mercury retrograde, like the Mercury Kazemi, what happened in the astrodrama experiences, also like big, really like wound reflecting and coming to the surface, which I understood, but I wasn't really kind of like feeling into it. But that was actually really interesting happening in the Cancer season as well. It's like all the emotional side of things coming to the surface for you to like how to nurture yourself and how to really restore the energy rather than putting it outwards. Even though Cancer season can be, because like we mentioned before, Cancer can be a cardinal sign, can initiate and can do things. I can see that in myself as well. For example, there's some opportunities coming in. I was like, yeah, I feel like that's right, that align where I'm going. Therefore, I'm taking action towards that. And which is totally different than what I thought where I would go. But it's kind of like things starting to leading to where I'm going. But rather than I was before, I might just we're trying to force myself into the direction I think I should be, rather than like, let's just restore my energy and to really like strategizing where I'm going rather than like scattered everywhere, but actually not going anywhere. I think it's really inward reflection and also nurture the idea. Like the other day I was talking about in the new moon, like Cancer new moon, the repot idea, because I feel like that's what I was doing. Like I literally, okay, this is so many idea. How can I creating a better container or like nourishment for those idea which I value, but I just don't know how to grow them in a way. I think that was for me, like in the whole Cancer season, and also Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of like inward reflection as well, and thinking and your perception and your perspective, and so many things. I had the same actually. A lot of
tending to my emotional world, but also in a reflection in terms of I was kind of going down the path, or am going down the path of getting diagnosed as neurodivergent. And what that brought up was going through the process and, you know, filling out all the questionnaires and all those kind of things. I had to like talk to my mother, which, you know, is very Cancerian, and some of the things that she brought up was really interesting. How that how I responded to those things, walking down memory lane. You know, being Cancer, very much about memories. Thinking about my childhood, I literally had to like look through my school reports, you know, very Mercury, my primary school reports.
All the informations.
Gathering all the information and re-looking at my experience as a child and as an adult, you know, and my inward experience compared to what other people perceived of me, which was really interesting. On a really boring level as well, I had countless plumbing issues.
Oh yes, I have so many things broken up in the Mercury retrograde.
Oh my God, Cancer is a water sign, right? I know, Cancer is a water sign, like a hot water cylinder broke down, my toilets were leaking, my washing machine broke down. So it was just, it was funny. So I do really feel already though a change, you know, and I think most people feel the energy before it shifts. And, you know, Leo is a fixed fire sign, so it's definitely about outward expression more, you know, creativity, leadership. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the leaders this, you know, on a world level.
Yeah, you already see it.
What's happening with the leaders. I'm thinking of one in particular who has an ascendant at 29 degrees Leo, and the South Node is about to go on that. And, you know, for each of us personally, like I said in the introduction, it's about our identity, about our vitality, about the part of us that wants to shine. And that's going to be different for each of us. So for me, Leo is in the second and, no, actually my chart, Leo's actually in the third house. So, you know, about communication. And I know for you, it's in the second, I think, isn't it, Leo?
Actually, no, like my second cusp is also Cancer as well.
Yeah.
So third. And also I have like Jupiter on third, or actually on the cusp of the fourth house, actually. It's interesting in Virgo. I was like, okay.
So it depends where Leo is in your chart, what part of life, you know, is where you shine and where your sun energy actually really comes out as well. So I think Leo's shadow side will be really interesting to track. Especially, I mean, I've already had a few things when Jupiter moved into Leo. It's always easier to see it in other people. But my partner had a massive inner child tantrum one day. I was just like, whoa, where is this coming from? And afterwards, he was like, oh, I'm really sorry. That was a little embarrassing. And I was like, it's okay. It's Jupiter and Leo. So I think both Jupiter and the South Node can sometimes, you know, Jupiter can really bring out the almost the grotesque parts of the sign. You know, like the over the top. And the South Node can bring out the shadow side. So that ego, the inner child, the need for validation, drama, you know, you know, difficulty sharing the spotlight. So, and we all have that, you know, so it'll be really interesting. But, you know, the sign that Leo is such a beautiful sign as well. It's the sign of the heart. You know, that Leos, they just care so much, don't they? And they really teach us how to play and just for its own sake. So definitely feeling that shift, which is nice, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Because I definitely feel like in this Leo season, you will see the two extreme. One extreme is like really heart-centered leadership and or like really like playful, innocent creativity coming out. And that's the positive side of the Leo because that's what they like expressing. But you also can see, like you said, I also feel like much ego-driven like personality shows up and all the dramas, like really want to grabbing your attention and the inner child tantrum basically. It will shows up as well. But I feel like it's how you responding to it too. Like because you can like dragged into that Leo drama or you can just step back and really allowing the inner child and being healed and held and seen and heard. So I think that's different space. But also I just feel like also check on yourself as well, because like I said, it's easy to see on the other people, but sometimes maybe you're the one being like dramatic
Totally.
or being like being the okay, I'm also throwing tantrum too here. Sometimes I feel like I need holding my horse. Okay, actually I supposed to responding differently, because I think I'm going through some similar situation. I almost like, oh my god, I wanna like do that, and then it's like, nah, like I don't need to, and then I turn to inwards, like the Cancer myself, and saying, hey, how I really feel about this, and what is my response towards without all those wounding, without all those like old wound like telling me how to make myself to be safe. And then that's different response. So I think it's kind of like need to be cautious about this energy. Yes, can be really expressive, can be really creative, and can be all over the top, but also know when to restrain that as well, because it can causing a lot of drama, and it can be really ego driven, in therefore is inauthentic. Because I think this Leo season is really about authenticity. It's not about anything else. So leadership, authenticity, I think that's a lot of things being activated through different planetary interaction in so many different ways. So I think that's pretty much I feel what's gonna come up, and already coming up pretty much,
and I think like the authenticity, like sometimes you need to see something so crazily not authentic to realize what is authentic. And I think we'll see both. Like I think I mentioned this in the last podcast as well. Like there's some examples in the world at the moment, or even in our own country, where I look at the news when I don't often look at the news, but when I do, and I'm just like, oh, this is so gross. Like, coming from some people, I'm like, are they for real? They're just so arrogant and like over the top, and it's so in your face, that it's almost, it needs to be, so that people stop and take notice. And because I think so much these days is shock value, that we're almost immune to shocking behavior.
And also it's like enabling as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like,
and it's like, because we're constantly being bombarded with shocking behavior. It's like when someone
and then
empowered
you're
with something, you're like, it's just another, thing that he or she, mostly he, is doing. But I think it'll be interesting in Leo season to see like how grotesque that behavior becomes, so people actually stand up and go, this is not okay.
Yeah, and also I think that's another reflection I had lately as well. Like, the Leo is kind of like in the spotlight, right? The performance, like entertaining in a way, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of applying, for example, a lot of things happening in the world, like it's destruction, it's entertainment. And then people forgot to looking at, okay, what's really problem? Even like, I think in my personal situation, I sometimes like the other day I had like really big reflection. I was like, oh my God, because I was trying to pointing out like an issue, a problem need to address, but not to blame, but not to kind of just asking, okay, this is a problem, need to be resolved. It's not blaming on anyone. It's asking for accountability. It's asking to change, to get better, right? So there's no any intention of attacking anyone, or it's just, okay, this is issue I saw. Can we deal with something with that, right? And then what I see in the group was saying, everybody's, don't talking about that. Let's just talking about positive things. Let's just deal with like, the good things and achievement. And I was like, yeah, that's great. It's nothing denying on that. But also this problem has been sitting there for ages. So I think sometimes that spotlight, entertainment, taking away what needs to be addressing. I think that's where we're going to the Pluto as well. It's the underworld. It's something like buried for so long. Now you cannot bury it anymore. So no matter how shiny, sparkly this one is, and this has to be addressed, so I think that's something I was noticing in people, and also some maybe healers as well. Just, I don't want to see, I only see the love and light, see the good side of people. Yes, I think there's a misconception about, like, for example, if you see some people have bad behavior, doesn't mean they're a bad person. You know what I mean? A lot of people are taking the same thing, so they don't want to see that, because you can have a good heart and still have shitty behavior. So do I. I'm the same. Sometimes I do shitty things, because I was wounded. No matter what's the reason. But
Yeah.
I was saying like people cannot like handle the coexistence, like the reality or truth, because we are
Yeah.
human. We have
Yeah.
dark side, we have shadow side. And when you're pointing out the shadow, doesn't mean it's is this person is bad or the essence is evil. No, it's just hey, help them to grow actually. That's a
Yeah.
deep care rather than like attack. But most people, because we're so like familiar or like used to just positive things, just positive vibe, therefore no one can actually facing their own darkness. We're all avoiding it, and also in general we're normalizing it. It's just really bizarre to see. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
the only thing I want to see is like actually if you see your shadow, if there's nothing to afraid of and there's nothing to blame or attacking in a way, but it just helps you perceive it. And then I can see that's really much in the Leo season now. It's like, oh, everybody in this, like even the football as well, all the spotlight here, but what's the real underneath, the
Yeah.
injustice
Yeah, there's so
hasn't
much
really
going
been
on there,
resolved.
isn't there? I was like, oh, this is
Yeah,
insane. The entertainment value of that
yeah,
World Cup and everything's great, but there's just, again, really obvious stuff that went on that people are just kind of ignoring. And I'm like, how
yeah,
can you
and
ignore that?
normalizing. Yeah,
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 normalizing. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
yes, good points. Right, shall we get into some actual transits? I
yeah.
think overall the first half of Leo season is, I'm going to say,
Oh,
a
hang on a
little
minute.
bit more, a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah. Sorry, one thing I want to add on the reflection about the Mercury Kazemi. I think I mentioned the astrodrama, right? So, yeah, I think that's another point I want to mention here is like, as normally when we're learning astrology, it's like very heady, right? But I think that's giving me like really tangible experiences, like all the planetary energy already felt it. Sometimes doesn't need the knowledge, you just felt it, and then astrology give you a language. So for example, when we do the astrodrama, basically you experiencing the planetary archetype in real time in the field. It's kind of like a family constellation in a way. And I remember like that day was in the Mercury Cazimi, which is the Mercury is in the center of the sun. So for me, Mercury Cazimi is like you have a strong, clear knowing. There's the Mercury is fully functioned. It's not like combust or like damaged by the sun's light, right? And what happened for me was like I didn't realize because I have a combust Mercury myself, and I always kind of like judging it in a way. I would say, hey, like I have a really combust Mercury. I don't know how to communicate, or my way of communication is really straightforward, blunt, and always get misunderstood in a way. And also Mercury in Sagittarius in the fall, right? I have all those knowledge, all those judgment in a way saying, hey, I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to speak, or I don't know how to, like that's how I judge myself in a way. And then when I really feeling into that energy, what I saw was my Mercury was literally like hiding, shrinking in the corner, just saying, hey, I cannot speak. Like there's a lot of things I want to say coming out, but couldn't coming out. Was a really painful feeling. I was like, oh my God, I understood is how hard it is for her, but I don't know how that was felt, you know? And then later on, I started to really going through my healing process and like talking with her and really like saying, hey, like I have my unique expression and like communicating, the way of communicating. Not everybody will understood. And my mind sometimes and also the other, I also feel like I have an esoteric mind. I always going up there and sometimes not everybody will understand and that's okay. So it's this like really experiencing like the planetary energy, and this is not something hard to do. Like even when you at home, like if you don't know anything about astrology, just sit with your planet looking at the symbol and see what coming through. And that's actually another way of you really feeling into astrology rather than like being bombarded or feel like, so okay, I don't know how to put this together, because not everybody can do that. So I think that's where
Yeah,
we listen
yeah,
to the podcast, we kind of like give you more information, and also in that way soaking in your subconscious, and then you understand the symbolism, because when you feel the symbolism yourself, and that's much more healing to be done in a way rather than just the knowledge.
yeah,
Yes, I think
yeah,
that's one thing. Of course there's a lot of things in that thing happening, but I just feel like this is just one thing. Later on I'm going to do more like experiencing astrology rather than just knowledge. It's important to understand
yeah,
yourself, but also the understanding has to be felt.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just one thing I want to add on. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those listeners who don't know, astrodrama is a practice in astrology where you embody the planets. And like Fairy said, you don't need to really have much knowledge of astrology. Again, it's very energetic. Is that right? And you can just, sit with the planets in your chart and see what comes up. I recommend doing that with someone that's skilled under supervision, especially when you're going into some of the more gritty planets.
Yeah. I definitely feel like, I'm not going to complaining about that, but we're talking about that.
We could talk about that. But yes, no, thank you for adding that. So like I said, with Leo season, I think the first half of it, and again, I'm going to put quotation marks around this, is relatively unmarred a little bit because although it's really the second part which gets a little bit more chaotic with eclipse season, coming into it. So let's get into the first.
Sorry, I found another thing. Okay, add on two more things, and before we go into Leo season, so some reflection. So I want to say, like, we just did some personal reflection, right? So also, when we had the full moon in Capricorn, right? That full moon, and there's a collective like manifestation of that is the UK PM resigns. I think that's like typical like manifestation of the Capricorn, the authority, like there's something going on with the spotlight on that and resign in that way. I'm not getting into more political side of things, but I just feel like this, like when I'm looking at the news, I was like, okay, this is typical, the authority, the hierarchy, and the old outdated leadership starting to like fall apart, or like there's more investigation and all the things come into that. So that's one thing. And then like lately, I think, I'm not sure, do you know Dr. Samuel Lee?
No.
So it's like basically Instagram, like if you're looking at, he was teaching like multidimensional and spiritual side of things, and I wasn't really following him, but I feel this is also another manifestation of like false leadership and, falling apart, because basically he was charged by manslaughter because someone in his retreat died because he was doing like psychedelic sort of like retreat in a way. And it has massive followers and a lot of teaching, and also he was using AI and all that. And I don't want to judging people in that way, but I feel like this is a really it's actually happening in Jupiter in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So it's definitely like a really collapse of false authority, and also revealing what is hidden, like, after all this massive follower and all that. And I think sometimes like when I'm looking at all this news, I was like, astrology is speaking louder than it actually people realize, So I think that's two things I want to mention. And so there's a lot of manifestation in real time. Yeah,
and I think we'll see a lot more of that as well during Leo season.
Okay, we can go forward.
Are you sure? Let's just give it a minute. No, it's good. Okay. All right. Right. So the sun enters Leo on the 22nd of July, or 23rd for us in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it squares Chiron straight off the bat. Fairy's already talked about this a little bit. And we decided that we're not going to go into Chiron too much in this episode because there's just so much else to cover, and we've already, talked for half an hour. So we will do an episode on Chiron in Taurus at some point, and Chiron in general. So, but like Fairy said, I think when the sun enters a new sign, that kind of imprint of that moment is quite important for the rest of the month or that season. So squaring Chiron, there is this element of wounding and healing at the same time really coming into the forefront. And with Leo, I think that will be leaders. It will be around themes of the earth as well, our environment, our relationship to our environment, our leadership, and their commitment to, either upholding environmental standards or not, and
Yeah.
also within ourselves, our own relationship to the world around us and the cosmos and our bodies, and how
Yeah.
maybe our performative actions and things have taken away from that.
Yeah.
You know, some really mundane things like, you know, I'm spending too much time on social media, doom scrolling, and it's not good for my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It's not,
things like that. It doesn't have to
it's
be,
not a
you know,
good
this
energy
astrology, I
field.
think sometimes this astrology, you can look at it from a really like high vantage point, but it can also sometimes land in really mundane physical things that seem a little boring, like plumbing issues. Um, but you
Yeah.
know, I think, but
Talking about
they all matter because at the end of the day, we're human. We're here in this world having this 3D experience, and personally, and this is my own personal view. This whole thing about ascending to 5D, well, if you want to do that, then don't come to Earth, you know?
And also, that's another thing about like what I learned about as Chinese astrology as well, like all the system, the yin and yang systems. Basically, the like balancing or harmonizing force is actually not in that, it's in the 3D, it's in the earth. And also like all the bodies made up by the five element as well. And so therefore all the things happening in the sky were affecting here, and how you're taking care of here is the most important thing, and that's where ascension journey is actually happening. So that's something really interesting to see the difference, and also we can talk about later on because I can see the difference with the pattern we form with that eclipse. I think that's something we can touch on later. I think that's the
Yeah,
connection between that. It was really
yeah,
interesting to see how we view things and in different system. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, personally, I am a practitioner of yoga, but very much drawn to the tantric line, which is very much around the, you know, how we enlightenment is through the body, not
Yeah.
against it. So it's actually working with the body
Use
and
the
its
body. Yeah.
expression and the very
Yeah.
physical realness of being human, our
Yeah.
emotions, the pain in the body, the experiences, the everything. That is what is, that's where the gift is, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bit of an aside, but yes. Then we have July 23rd. Again, we won't go into this too much because we've covered it in our last episode and also in our introduction. The Mercury retrograde goes direct. It will take a little while, so I think it's around 6th, 7th of August that it the shadow period clears. So, you know, there might still be things. I think we'll start feeling things move forward again and from tomorrow onwards, but it'll be like 6th or 7th of August where we really have some firm conclusions around what this retrograde has stirred up for us, and we've already talked about that. So I think I don't have too much more to add to the Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, I think we're really talking about a lot, like
Yeah,
reflection, what happened,
yeah,
and yeah, we have massive topic talking about the nodal shift
yeah,
and
which is,
full moon
yeah,
and also eclipse. Yeah. So do you want to
yeah,
starting with the node
yeah.
shift? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So the 26th of July, we have the nodal shift. So the north node is moving into Aquarius and the south node into Leo. This is a big one. It happens every 18 months. And let's just quickly talk about what the nodes are and what they aren't. So they're not planets. They are mathematical points in the sky where the moon's orbit crosses the sun's path. Okay. And if you don't understand that, don't worry. The south node is, very briefly, it's a gift that we carry through with ease. It's not something to be shameful of or abandon. I don't think it's something that we need to release. It's a gift that we had. It's definitely our comfort zone though. So again, it's something
Oh, yeah.
that on a personal level we can kind of shift back into when things get hard.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we can be really familiar with the shadow side of the sign that our south node is in very much. I think we should do a whole podcast on the nodes and then we can put some more personal reflection in it. But the
Yeah.
north node is the growth edge. So it's not necessarily comfortable at all. It
Yeah.
definitely feels out of your comfort zone, but it's what we're being asked to lean into. It's almost like this nudge forward from, you know, whatever people resonate with, God, the universe, karma, higher self, whatever. It's towards soul growth. For
Yeah.
me, it's what we're here to experience, again, like as humans,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think we should do a podcast on that, just on this
Yeah, well, definitely.
personal.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things going on. One thing I want to add on, like from the esoteric astrology point of view, South Node is also associated with your past life. And all the
Yes.
karma and all the things are gateway from the past, and all the
Yeah.
things you carry with one is something you have already achieved, which is maybe that's why, therefore, is your gift. There's something you're familiar with. And South Node, I like before I would say, hey, it's your life purpose, but also I feel like it's not purpose in a way that's what you do. It's actually where the most growth is happening. And also it was interesting in the astrodrama as well, like when we tap into the South Node, North Node, and I literally feel like when I was trying to, as soon as I'm trying to step into the North Node, I feel really strong resistance because that's something you're so uncomfortable and you don't want to go there. And I was like, even consciously, it's like, oh, I know it's growth, but I don't want to go there. You just feel it. It's like, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, of course, I feel like this is deserve like an episode. I think we're gonna clear a lot misconception about nodes, and because a lot of people are thinking, oh, like nodes, that's where I'm gonna go. Yes and no, So there's like more to it. It's where your growth is the biggest. And it's where you're totally uncomfortable with. It's kind of also I also in esoteric astrology basically saying like the North Node is also like where unknown, the spiritual, the higher point, basically your higher self, connecting with that is something uncertain. And there's like a territory, you just never know what's going to happen. You have to letting go the whole thing like you already had. And also even in the Vedic astrology, like the South Node is the body and the North Node is the head. Right? So one is the headless, one is only with the head. So when you're thinking about that symbology, there's like different meaning layer to it too. So I think that's a lot of things we can talk about later on in our specific episode.
Yeah, so that's on an individual level. I think collectively when the nodes shift signs, it's also asking the collective, and you see the themes of the North Node really being strong in the world. And in the South Node, things that need to be released definitely on a collective level. So the nodes are leaving Pisces and Virgo. So for the last 18 months, the North Node has been in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, where about surrender, service, and letting go of perfectionism, on a really high level. And now the North Node in Aquarius asks for more objectivity. I think community open-mindedness, innovation, future-facing views. Definitely that kind of collective feeling, which Aquarius very much embodies. And the South Node in Leo, which we've already talked about, is that release for excessive need for personal recognition. I did a bit of a thing on, like the release of the Instagram influencer, the ego validation, the self-centeredness, while honoring Leo's gifts of creativity and courage and heart. So this is playing out on the world stage, and it's also in your own chart. While you have your own personal nodes, the transits will be moving through a part of your chart where that part of your life will be asking you to lean in and move out in some ways or release in some ways. I think right now it's simply useful to look at that where Leo and Aquarius is in your chart, and that's going to be there for the next 18 months, and it's going to ask you to shift from performing to really being authentically contributing to society.
Because I do feel like this South Node, this 18 months starting from Aquarius and Leo is literally basically like, because for me it's the purification of the heart and also purification of the leadership. And then maybe before, even that can be checked in our individual and also collectively. So, hey, is that your leadership actually serving for your attention, for your own gain, or for the service of people, of community, right? So it's like also purifying a lot of like you said, performative, inauthentic leadership in the global stage and also in our personal life. It can be like collectively or even just a micro environment, for example, in your company, for example, in your environment, that kind of like shifting. I feel like it's the leadership shuffling in a lot of way, reordering, but also really igniting the purity of the heart. Because for me, Leo is the fire of the heart, and when it's actually in the brightest light, it can warm the Aquarius, the group, the community. But if you only take it as its own stage, and it will be kind of like self-centered, ego-driven, and that's all I know. That's all I wanted. And I don't even care about other people, right? So I think there's like a big reshuffling of the leadership, and also clearing all those like performative leaders. You will see the South Node, literally they will go. That's exit, and you will gradually see the next 2 years and see. Okay, there's a lot of like those performative leaders and social media influencer gone, literally. Yeah. So yeah. All right.
And Aquarius can be seen as quite a cold sign as well. So
yeah, detached.
it can be quite detached. So yeah, it's not all positive. I think there could also be some really harsh decisions made. For the good of the collective. So that'll
also
be
Pluto's
interesting.
there as well.
Yeah, quite utilitarian kind of views, I think. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about Saturn retrograde, which is happening on the same day, 26th of July? It's turning retrograde at 14 degrees Aries, and it squares Mercury in Cancer, which is now direct.
All right. Do you want to put up the chart
Yep.
to see that?
I can do that. Actually, I don't know. Let me just see.
Oh, can I see? Can I see if I can put the pattern down here? This one. Where is the? Oh, that's the full moon. Yeah. So if you can see, put the chart first, and I can do that later on.
Okay. Sorry, I just have to get it up.
Yeah, so basically the Saturn retrograde and square Mercury in Cancer, and that's when it's direct already. But yeah, I think that happening the same day when the nodes shift. And then the next day, Sun opposing Pluto and activating the Bible basket again. So which is very interesting, like happening at the same time. Is that 26?
Yeah, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so basically what I'm talking about here, because we have massive full moon happening, like later on we'll show you the chart, the pattern on the chart. And so basically this happening, the nodes changing sign, we were talking about that. For me, that's a collective shift in karmic direction, because nodes also have a fated like quality into it. So there's something definitely shifting. We're already talking about in July, but this is just like confirmation or continuation about that karmic direction shifting in global level and personal level. And also because at the same time, and Saturn retrograde in this also asking a reflection or re-evaluating something, and also the structure restructuring in a way, because Saturn is about structure, it's about authority. So I think in people in power and in general in authority, there's definitely a reordering in a big level retrograde, which means there's things. Maybe, for example, the war already escalating, this little bit slow down, this little bit restrain into it in a way. And also this because it's squaring the Mercury retrograde, which is forcing difficult conversation and a reality check. Is that really doable? Is that actually like kind of like having a resolution, or you just fight for the fight, you know? So I think that's kind of like happening at the same time. And also then the 27th of July and the Sun opposing Pluto, which is the basket we're talking about so many times, is exactly on the Jupiter. Like we just had the basket lately. And then it's basically now Sun is on the same spot where Jupiter was. Right. So this is also kind of like intensifying the collective power dynamic as well. So for me, all of this together, and it signal the beginning of new cycle of leadership. We're talking about that a lot, reshuffling, because Jupiter in Leo is literally the leadership, the leader, the lion, take the lead. And Sun, like for me, is the consciousness. So Jupiter amplifying that already, activating and carry that energy moving on into the full moon. But now the Sun in that spot is basically saying, hey, now it's more aware, more conscious to more people, because Sun is our center of the solar system. Therefore, and like more people will be more aware of like what's happening in the leadership and what's really going on. There's no hidden spot anymore. So this is like, yeah, for me it's like we entering a period when authority, influence, and public trust will be tested, because Saturn is there saying, hey, doing the reality check. So all the thing happening at the same time saying, hey, we need questioning our leadership, authority, and who have the genuine like being service of others, or just being for their own inflated ego or identity building on image rather than integrity, become increasingly difficult to sustain. So like I said, like that's also confirmed with the nodal shift. Like all those fake authority, false light will be gone, and you will see it gradually. This is just starting point of things starting to move and starting to go. Like the same example with the influencer who like being charged with manslaughter. No matter what the fact, the truth is in that. This is a great example of those false leaders, and it has to go, because we are really actually reshuffling in a big level. And on a personal level for this, and I think I have two questions I want to ask. Can you separate authentic self-expression from the need for validation, recognition, or control? Because I think that's also checking in our own leadership, our own authenticity in a lot of way as well, because we are our own leader of our own life, right? Doesn't necessarily mean leading, for example, a group or team or something like that. You are the leader of your own chapter of your life. And are you able to actually expressing yourself in a more authentic way, rather than perform, rather than like feeding other people's expectation? Are you being service of others rather than just serving for your own gain? So I think that's also a Saturn asking for a reality check as well. It's not just for, okay, I have to leading a team, I have to leading a company, all that. It's a self checking in with you are the leader of your own life, basically. And then Saturn is asking you to re-evaluating like how this gonna sustain yourself, and how you're gonna expressing yourself in a more authentic way, and also serving for others, not just serving for yourself. And I think also like, can your voice become one that serves community rather than simply serving the ego? I think that's two questions asking for the personal level. And also like with Mercury also kind of like squaring the Saturn retrograde, I definitely feel like this so many hard conversations will be expected during this time, and uncomfortable truths and emotional reaction, because Mercury is still in Cancer, right? So which means those emotional reaction will be heightened for sure. And especially Cancer seeks safety while Pluto demands transformation. So this temptation will be reacting emotionally. So I feel like, because also Saturn is basically kind of like a big mature guy saying, hey, don't throw a tantrum at me. So it's kind of like you feel the restriction, but also I feel like it's asking you to responding those emotional reaction, like collectively or even personally, in the next week, pretty much with the week we're in right now. And it's asking to responding with maturity and with clarity.
And I think, and also like what we've learned, again, that's coming back to the Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
You know, what have we learned through the last 3-4 weeks? And how do we emotionally maturely, I don't know whether that's a word, in a mature way communicate that and take responsibility.
So I think that's kind of like a massive thing in the 26 and 27 is like big thing going on. Like I think that kind of affecting definitely us for personally, because it's connecting with the Mercury, and it's a lot of things happening. It's kind of like all the outer planet energy like now starting to channel to the personal planet. So therefore I feel like that we mentioned before is actually we're lending it more from now on, rather than before when the basket actually happening, because I feel like still quite far away, but now it's like slowly lending personally in so many different ways. So, and also like another thing I want to talk about this is like the suggestion here is like it's basically saying like it's about who can remain grounded in truth when collective emotion are running really high, right? Because I feel like this much more personally, maybe there's like drama, like a conversation need to be had, and like harsh truths and to communicate it. But now it's kind of like when people like the emotion gets stirred, can you stay grounded in that Saturnness saying, hey, like I know the structures, I know the boundaries. I'm grounded in who I am, but I'm still responding with maturity, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of like a really big build up for the full moon.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have anything to add on?
Not to that one. I think we should talk about the full moon in Aquarius.
Okay.
That lead up. Did you want to share your picture for that? Because I think just shows the
Yeah. Okay.
the
I'm gonna share this.
sharing. It shows the configuration a lot better. So the full moon in Aquarius is happening on the 29th or the 30th of July at 6 degrees and 30 minutes. It's conjunct Pluto. It's opposing, which, you know, in and of itself, full moon conjunct Pluto, it's always going to feel really intense.
Yeah.
Opposing Sun, Jupiter, and Leo.
Yeah.
There's a trine to Uranus.
Yeah.
And there's a square still to Chiron, I believe. Yep.
So can you
And
see the picture? Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
I'm gonna.
pull it down a little bit or make it a bit bigger.
Yeah. How can I make it bigger? That's the question. I might just make it, drag it.
Can you just zoom it?
I don't know how to zoom it.
And it's sesqui quadrate a Venus
bigger?
in Virgo and Mars in Gemini, which is square. So yeah, it's a pretty loud full moon. There's a lot of contact for one full moon. I think that Pluto moon conjunction opposite Jupiter, Sun and Leo, it's that real power to the people
Yeah.
moment, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
there's definitely on a world stage going to be visible pushback against leadership or authority figures around this time. You know,
Yeah.
Uranus in the trine adds that sudden surprising quality. So information or events that arrive somewhat out of nowhere as well. And I think that Venus-Mars square, both actually in Mercury ruled signs. So Mars is in Gemini, Venus is in Virgo, and they're both Mercury ruled sign. And again, Mercury is still in Cancer, has just come direct. I think there's going to be a lot of communication, a lot of noise. Yeah, I mean, whether it's again that gender dynamic that gets pulled up again, the friction playing out publicly, I think alongside a broader theme of clashing information, you know, people getting very picky about details and facts and what is fact and what isn't fact. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. But definitely like a revolutionary full moon.
Yeah, I think this one's the loudest full moon in the whole year, isn't it? Even though we
Yeah.
keep talking about all the things, and Leo is really, really, really loud, and yeah, the why I'm shocked. Just bear in mind with me. This is like I don't know how to like zoom out bigger, but it's fine. So you can see
you get to see our
point
Lees
is
and
the pattern.
Susan podcast prep.
That's right. So this is so basically the thing I want to mention here, like you said, the full moon, right? So the moon, the sun is in here, and you can see it's conjunct with the Jupiter here, and the moon is basically really close to Pluto and is in the opposite. So this is the full moon in Aquarius. And what I'm saying, and also you can see the Mercury, not Mercury, Venus in Virgo, 21st degree, and then the Mars in 21st degree in Gemini. So this actually literally forming a cross in here. And also I checked with not Mercury. Mercury's keep coming with me. The Venus and the Mars, the middle point, and it's literally and mathematically like right following the 6 degree of this. So this is not coincidence in a lot of ways. Not just hey, like roughly in that, it's exactly on this 6 degree of this. So for me, I don't know much about midpoint, so that's why I actually asking Sandra before, do you know much about knowledge with this? But for me, because when I see this, and we're talking about power to people all the time, and also leadership and pointing that. For me, like when I'm looking at this chart, and the things for me is like it feels like a Christ reborn energy into this point, and a new leader is emerging in a way. and then no one will expect it later on. Because I feel like now you cannot see it, but it's kind of like a energy of new leadership, really trying to pointing out the leadership from where we are now and pointing to this moon. And also for me, like I think I have said here, you can see my notes. On the opposite side, the moon, a conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, tuning into the collective shadow, because Pluto for me is the underworld. It's all the things we've buried. It's all the people being taken away, all the ancestral trauma as well, because Pluto is generational planet as well. So for me, it's like the ancestral trauma around misuse of power being stirred from the underworld, demanding to be witnessed rather than buried. So it's basically all those leadership from here is pointing to the moon in the underworld, and that power need to be witnessed or finding justice or in someone different. That's kind of leading to later on the eclipse. I think this connected in a way for me is that Christ-like, the hero or savior energy reborn, rebirth in a way. But now you need to going through sort of like a sacrifice, or there's massive things going on underneath in our human psyche being stirred up, and now it's more like it's like a starting point. And then especially also for me, the Venus and Mars for me is yin and yang, right? And also that's kind of like the midpoint for me is like find a middle point, the resolution, the harmonization in between. Therefore, there's a true manifestation will giving power back to people. But it's gonna be really sort of, because you can see this is like a square in a way, right? The Venus and the Mars is square. And in astrology, we can say that it's like really challenging or frustration. But where's the middle ground? How can I actually actualizing this point into the reality, into manifestation? So therefore, this point is really important, not pointing to here. But yeah, I think that's just my take on it. And I just said to Sandra, I'm going to go out of tantrum with this. Yeah, so I think also Venus in Virgo asking for practical action, discernment and service, and Mars in Gemini still debating, talking, because Gemini is the talking, thinking, right? And scattering the energy. So this midpoint and in the Sun Jupiter conjunction, creating a powerful manifestation point, a bridge between vision and action, right? So I think that's what I take on this. And like I said, for me, it's like really an archetype of hero or savior, and like emerge and give back power to people. And so that's why I feel like that's all the building up when the 26th of 7, Saturn like square Mercury and all the nodal shifting, and that's building up for this. And this on the full light, and you charged with the full moon light, basically, for me.
It's very dynamic. It's a very, very dynamic full moon. And it's it's interesting. I can really see how it's collectively it's going to be loud. I always find it interesting how it lands for individuals in their own lives.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when I was preparing for this podcast, I found it really hard. Usually I find it easy because that's what I do, to kind of see, well, how will this land for people individually? I think it's obviously really going to depend on where it is in their chart, but I do feel like this whole month and this whole time that we're in, there's a real sense of blurring between the individual and the collective. So it's almost like we're becoming more and more aware of how we are individually affects the collective, and the collective affect us. So it's almost like I was trying to tap into, as you were speaking, okay, well, how will this land for people individually? I think it will land in a way where people realize I'm really affected by what's going on around me. And I think we only realize that in times when there is a lot going on. And obviously, there's some really big examples like war, or and I'm not saying this is going to be war, but but we have over this year, I think obviously we had the pandemic in 2020, which we definitely realized that we were all connected, but also like with the fuel crisis and the war in Iran, feeling that a decision made by someone far away impacts our everyday life and how we how we interact with the world and what we're able to do. And I think that's what's coming up for me in this full moon for individuals, is that it's going to be really loud and obvious that yes, we are all connected, not in a woo-woo-hoo sense, but in a very real and practical sense.
Yeah. So I think also because you can see Mercury, no, I keep saying Venus is the Mercury. Venus and Mars is the personal planet, right? So you will feel like more personally than before. But also I feel like because this, I do feel like like I said, like the basket we're talking about with all the outer planet connecting together. Like I said, I think that's probably the reason why we couldn't pinpoint how it's gonna affecting our personal life, because it's definitely a big thing in the background happening, and no one can comprehend, like can tell you the ultimate truth about what is really going on there. So for me, like I just get a sense that cross is a rebirth of something, the leadership, like that shuffling. But like I said, like I'm not being religious or anything. Like I literally feel like it's a Christ-born energy. I was like, I'm just gonna just put it out there and see what's happening.
See what happens. Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's like, I don't know, like I do feel like you will feel much more personally in a way. And sometimes maybe you don't know what's going on. Like for example, I have to say, like recently, like the basket, right, happening, and it's actually squaring my Venus and also conjunct my Saturn. Like for me, I couldn't make any sense of it, but it's in my body. Like I literally felt like a headache for, like I have to go home. Like when I go home, when the conjunction happening, I have to go home and I have massive headache. I have to sleep. I slept for 12 hours basically, and that's what happened. But sometimes it doesn't mean there's no meaning of it, but it just at the moment you do not know. And sometimes we need to be okay with it. We don't know everything, and be okay with in that, like let the universe to review what's really happening collectively.
And I think going back to the Babo basket, you know, that's been happening, and I feel like there's been so many different interpretations, and I tried to put an interpretation on it, but it didn't really flow, to be honest. And I feel like with all those outer planets conspiring, they, you know, outer planets are they represent things that are not of this world. There is almost like you say, there is something bigger than us that's happening in the background that we can't actually understand on a human level, and it's going to take years for it to play out. So I think it's a really interesting time that we're in. Right, have you got anything more to say about, I'm just aware of time, anything more to say about the full moon, or do we move on?
I'm going to stop sharing and put it on your chart if you want.
All right, so the next one, we August 3rd, Chiron goes retrograde in Taurus, and we won't delve into this in this podcast. So the next big thing that we want to talk about is the new moon solar eclipse on August 12th. Let me just share my screen. So that's happening at 20 degrees Leo. I don't have that one up here. So what was it? August 13th, wasn't it? There we go.
I can see my cat little
What's
ears.
that?
I can see my cat ears like popping out over there.
She always likes to be part of it.
Yeah.
We've got 20 degrees Leo. It's an eclipse, obviously, because the node is close to it, the south node now in Leo. And it's conjunct, let me just have a look. Sorry, I can't see it on my screen, which isn't helpful. Very, very widely conjunct Jupiter, but, you know, very wide. And trine Uranus. Sorry.
Not
Venus and Libra is trine Uranus and Gemini, and Pluto is opposing Mercury. So it is widely conjunct Jupiter, the south node, both in Leo, opposing obviously the north node. There's a very wide trine to Saturn in Aries again. And Mercury in Leo is applying to its own conjunction. So I feel like the interesting thing about the new moon is that there's a very busy lead up which we kind of talked about a little bit already, but
Yeah.
kind of leading up the 10th to the 13th of August, Venus moves into Libra and Mercury is now in Leo. And both of these planets, as they come to that 4 degree of air and fire,
Yeah.
again, activate those points again in Libra and Leo, that air fire 4 degree mark, which we've been talking about with the Babo basket and all the
You
outer
want me
planet
to
alignments.
put my picture on that one?
I can try, hang on.
Yeah, because I think that one show the pattern more clearly. You can talk about that as well.
Yeah. So I think this kind of, again, brings it really into a personal kind of view.
Okay.
Sorry, I've got too much going
Can you
on
see
on my
that?
screen. Yes, I can. Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah, so
amazing.
this is like
I've got too
clear
much going on
pattern.
my screen today. Classic Gemini brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we've got those in the lead up to this eclipse. We've got Venus and Mercury again activating those 4 degree parts and bringing it very personal again, I think. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, we just said that we can't really personally tap into that outer planet alignment. I wonder whether it'll become a lot more clear, although eclipses aren't usually moments of clarity. So just quickly, for those of you, you know, eclipses definitely speed things up. But when you're right in the moment of an eclipse, and a new moon, again, it's a solar eclipse. It's again it's almost like a new moon on steroids. And it's like the seed that's planted it's, you know, shot out of a cannon. It's like the same energy, but faster and a lot less negotiable. So they're accelerators. They speed up what's already ripening. But it does, you know, the effects unfold over roughly 6 months. It's not like it happens within 6 hours. And I often say to my clients, like, eclipses aren't the best time to make decisions because, again, the energy is so intense that you can't always get clarity right at that time. So the bigger picture, I think, for this one, you know, it's definitely going to highlight that South Node eclipse of ending, of release in Leo. It could mark that beginning, although we've already talked about that, but it could mark the beginning of the end for certain ego-driven leadership styles. Again, it's the same thing, emergence of new leaders entirely, similar themes here. And so it's also echoes back to the 17th of February 2026 new moon in Aquarius, which was near the North Node in Pisces at the time. So it's worth revisiting that time as well for yourself and your personal life as well. So I think it is a really good moon in some ways to get clear on what you want. I know I just said you might not get clarity, but I think, again, those new moons to kind of reflect rather than push out just yet. I think we'll get some clarity around what is authentic for you, you know, and also what the next 18 months looks like for you. What area of life, because it's that South Node, is going to ask for more authenticity and self-expression.
Yeah, great. So here I want to add on something out of tantrum as well. So the reason why I put this is the chart I see last night for a while, and because I see the pattern of like a pentagram. If you can see here, so there's like 5 planets, Uranus and Mercury and Venus and also Pluto and Neptune. They're forming a 5 start point, and this kind of like a sacred geometry, and in a way, and which is interesting happening in the solar eclipse. Like Sandra was saying, like solar eclipse is normally a very intense time. In the shamanic tradition or other tradition, we'll say solar eclipse is a really sort of like when the sun is darkened, right? You cannot see, and there's a lot of things happening behind the scene. And that's not normally not a good timing, for example, planting a seed or whatever, but this seed is planting in a bigger way, right? So for me, it's like, and also, I don't know, like I feel this eclipse is actually really unexpected in a way. Yes, it widely like trying Saturn in a way, but I also feel like it's quite floating in a way. It's like there's a door open, but there's nothing formed just yet for me. And then when I'm looking at this like pentagram, and I want to share some sort of like I did some research about what that means, and I also will put a link underneath, and just you can read an article about like what pentagram means. You can have your own intake on it. And so the pentagram is one of the oldest symbols in sacred geometry, representing the harmony of the cosmos and the relationship between humanity and divine. And its 5 points correspond to the 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire, and spirit. And with the uppermost point representing spirit, symbolizing consciousness, guiding the material world. And when the pentagram point upwards, it depicts the fully integrated human spirit leading the mind, emotions, and actions. It is symbol not of perfection, but alignment, which is interesting when you listen to this sentence, isn't it? Because then also like, and you will see here, like the up point is like the Uranus basically. And Uranus for me is the higher mind. So which means for me, there's definitely much more downloading into the earth and guiding us to say, how can we be in like integrate, aligned human rather than scattered and like all the things happening. Like I think it's also matching the theme of like purifying the leadership, purifying the authenticity, who we are, how we align with the nature, with the humanity, with all the things happening around us. So you are not just you anymore. You know, you are more aware of we are all connected in so many different level, intangible level, not just like we're talking about oneness. Is you actually living with the oneness, you know? So I think that's like a big starting point of human, like it's like an initiation of humanity in a way for me. And also was interesting when you're starting to see things and things is everywhere, like because I think I had mentioned it before, like I was learning the Chinese metaphysics as well, so also talking about 5 elements, which is another element is not like spirit, it's earth. So it's wood, fire, water, metal, and earth. And earth is the grounding force. And for how we harmonizing with the how we harmonizing with nature, with the community, with all we have. And they took that as a sort of like connection with all things. And how do you bring that spirit into your humanity, in your human body? And that's why always applying this as well. So yeah, that's like just another thing I want to pointing out. This is so many different, and also another thing link I had with, if you remember, we just showed you the cross when we had the full moon in Aquarius, right? And then I was saying, oh, that's for me, it's like Christ-like born, you know, like energy in that way. But also when you're looking at this symbolism in the middle, like I think in the Christianity, it was saying this is the 5 wounds of Christ. So that's an interesting link in between that full moon and this eclipse. So I feel like there's a lot energy going on happening in a way we might not able to comprehend. But I just want to pointing out this is, you know, and from the astrology point of view, I want to mentioning this 5 thing was here. So for example, the Uranus in Gemini, and for me it's the higher mind and awakening new ways of thinking, and also pointing that's where the change is happening, right? And then the Neptune in Aries, and for me is the spiritual will and inspired action aligned with greater purpose, and also pointing the spirituality side of things is also part of this integration of new humanity. And then the Pluto in Aquarius and the power to collective and transforming how society share power. And that's power involved in another way. And then Venus in Libra is asking balance and justice and restoration of harmony. And also is what we really value as human, as the whole collective being. And then the Mercury in Leo this way is courageous expression and heart-centered leadership. And also Mercury for me is a thought form. So there's a 5 element and initiated at the same time, like our higher mind and spiritual awakening, and also our spiritual will, and and the power we hold as collective, and also how we value things, our thought form, initiated at the same time, and building up to a new consciousness. I feel like I'm talking big things here, but anyway. But yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And also the solar eclipse marks the beginning of new cycle, right? And also the sun, the traditional symbol of identity, authority, and leadership, again, is temporarily obscured, creating space for new expression to emerge. And then it's basically kind of like the eclipse hiding this like pentagram in the big background, and we're not able to see it. But once it's coming to the light, we'll see it more clearly later on. Yeah, I'm excited about this, but I'm not sure how it ends. But anyway.
Yeah, there are big lunations this month, actually. Big lunations.
Yeah. It's kind of
right. We should probably start wrapping up, but I did have one more thing to add, and this is a little bit left field, and I haven't had time to go into this. But as you were speaking, and I feel like this episode has unexpectedly, I guess, become a little bit more what's the word? Like
what's the word?
Bigger picture than we maybe usually do. I'm not sure, or just a bit more esoteric. And so I thought I'd just bring this into it. I had someone reply to one of my social media posts and said, "What about Planet X?" which is at 4 degrees Sagittarius, and I'd never heard of Planet X. I did a little bit of research, and it's basically a hypothetical planet that scientists currently theorize is, orbiting our sun. And I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure where this person got the information that it was at 4 degrees Sagittarius. But if you look at that pentagon there, 4 degrees Sagittarius is down the bottom. It would make what would it make? It would make a complete star, wouldn't it? And I think it's interesting that this Planet X is hypothetical. It's not proven. It's very again esoteric and out there, and no one really knows what it is. But obviously, it's a theory somewhere. And the fact that it's in 4 degrees Sagittarius, it would actually form a full star there. So again, I think what I'm trying to say with that is I think this month could bring some really left field, some really unexpected and things that we can't quite explain or understand. And at the same time, this paradox of like, it's going to land very personally for us. It's going to have impact on our personal lives. And I think that's that Chiron and Taurus as well. Going retrograde. And maybe we've done it disservice that we haven't talked about Chiron as much in this podcast, because I do think that is, it's the only planet in Earth. And I think it will very much affect the collective in terms of making things land physically in our bodies. Like you just said, like you just had a headache. At the moment I've got outside my home a 17-meter cell phone tower being erected, and part of me is like, oh well, but then at the same time, everyone's like, oh, it's all within the standards and it's not a health hazard. And I'm like, but you don't know. And I think, again, this is a very mundane way of putting this astrology. But, it'll be interesting to see how my physical body reacts to that thing that really no one understands, how those electromagnetic frequencies actually affect us. We don't know. There's lots of theories.
And also one thing you just pointing out as well, like you can see this like 5 point, right? It's all air and fire sign. There's no earth, which means more like in the ether, in the up there, and like you don't know what's really going on. And so that's why I feel like sometimes we just need to be a human. Like we allow things happen. Sometimes you don't need to understand just yet, but you know there's some things, bigger things happening. Being part of it and feeling into it rather than trying to figure things out, because I think that's where. And also, I think like I do like how you balancing me out. Like I was talking about all the thing over there, grounding me. What is that for the mundane?
No, it's my Gemini. I'm like, hey, but let's make it real.
Let's make it real. But I do feel like, because in general, I get excited about this. It's like, okay, I actually don't know what I'm talking about, but that's okay.
Cool.
But yeah.
All right. I think we'd really like to hear from you guys, and just to see how this has been landing, especially the outer planet alignments, you know, and also, you know, have you already noticed how it's embodying for you, how it's expressing for you? You know, I think one of the questions with Leo season as well is definitely like, what does authentic expression look like for you instead of performance? And eclipses are also, and I mean, I know it's a new moon eclipse, so it's the beginning, but with beginnings comes endings, and especially with a south node eclipse. So it's like, yes, it's a new beginning, but with new beginnings, we have to release something. And I think this is definitely an eclipse where something's going to have to go. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So I think if we're just having like invitation for our audience, and I just really wanted to listen to, because I think this month is going to be like the Leo season going to be really out there, and there's a lot of things happening in the background, but you don't know. Yes, it will affecting us personally, whatever. But I do feel like when we share our experiences, you will say, oh, actually, there's like much more input. We're putting all the big puzzles together, you know what I mean? So like you have experiences of this and the other person have another experience of this, and then there's actually we all feel something at the same time. You will see the big picture will coming together. So we do encouraging, if you do have some experiences, share things resonate in the podcast, and let us know, because I do want to see like what's really going on. The comment.
Cool.
I think that's it for today, isn't it?
Yeah, we look forward to catching up with you guys for Virgo season, and to look back. And I do think we are going to look back at this Leo season and be like, whoa, okay, who we are now is not who we were.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. And I will see you next time.
Bye. Thanks so much for joining us on Let's Blame the Planets. We'll be back next month with another deep dive into the sky and how it's showing up in our lives. If you want to keep up with what else we're offering, from astrology insights to workshops and more, check out our social handles in the description below. And don't forget to follow so you don't miss the next episode.